Welcome to India Roundup. In today's Newsmaker episode, we're delighted to feature Mr. Vikas Vaibhav, IPS, and DIG of the Anti-Terror Squad of Bihar Police. Mr. Vaibhav's versatility goes much beyond than just being a super cop. He has the distinction of penning the much-read blog Silent Pages, which is about the lesser-known facts of Indian history. And in his free time, Mr. Vaibhav imparts free coaching to IPS aspirants and also pursues photography with the same passion as while dealing with an outlaw. This is what he had to say. Mr. Vaibhav, in addition to being a top cop, you're so multidimensional. What made you pursue other interests like coaching students and pursuing photography? How do you find the time to get involved in all this?
Life is a journey in which every one of us is born, he contributes something to the very scheme of existence and then departs. Everyone has come with an own unique set of DNA, with own potential to do something. Of course, there is a universal potential which ignites every mind, but everyone is born unique. And if you look at things, then everyone is not unidimensional. You may be working as a police officer, you may be working as a lawyer, you may be working as a doctor, but that is the professional part of it. Apart from that, you are also serving various other capacities, like you are a father, you could be a very good student, you could be professor of, say, mechanical engineering, you could be so many things at the same time. So everyone is actually multidimensional. The only thing is when you really want to know what exactly you want out of life, then you realize that apart from profession, there are so many other things which could actually be igniting your mind, and you want to do them to a certain extent to get satisfaction. So if you ask me about the multidimensional part, then I like policing, I enjoy it, but at the same time, policing is at times a very monotonous job. All the time you're under stress. You're looking for the next phone ringing, and what exactly, anything, it could be anything which can come, which can spoil your whole schedule and all. So when you find some time free, and photography is one of the things which I like, and interest in photography developed because I was moving to distant places. I used to come across spots which are least visited. Very less visitors used to come to such spots, and they were very neglected spots which had a very illustrious history. So then I felt that I should photograph these sites professionally, particularly, and release the photographs on the internet so that maximum people can see the heritage that we have. And it developed as a passion gradually. So whenever I used to get free time, if I'm going to some police station for a visit, I come across some site which is historical, I'll stop down for some time, take some photographs, come back home, and very later, whenever I find the time, I'll delve into books and try to find and try to make sense out of it, how exactly the place was placed in history. So that is something, and when you feel something that inspires you, you feel like sharing that inspiration with others. That is how I feel that I must be talking to the young generation. The young generation needs people who can actually guide them. They are looking for role models who are positive, who come with a positive energy, and who come with a sense of contributing to the society. So that is why, again, it's a profession, but along with the profession, what things I like, and once you like certain things, it's a passion, then you definitely will find the time to do it. So we may find excuse that we do not have the time, but if you really want to do something, I'm very sure you will definitely find the time. There's an old saying which says, when there is a will, there is a way. So along with the policing, whatever I have been doing, I've been writing a blog, I've been reading books, I've been traveling whenever I found the time to do that, and I've also taken my kids along. So that is how it has happened.
After going through your resume, it seems that your scholarly pursuits travel as fast as your bullets. Can you tell us a little more about this?
Right from days of early childhood, I liked academics. I liked reading books. I had a very competitive spirit. I used to try to be the topper of my class, and I really used to compete and work hard to be that. So this spirit came, and then I gradually realized that I enjoy reading, because reading opens you, it expands your horizons of the mind, and then you start thinking, and when you actually, there's so much of literature available, and what inspires me particularly is something that was written by the people in ancient times. Because in ancient times, you did not have the technology like today, you did not have the means of communication like today, and you did not have the means to preserve such knowledge in very printable form. So when in such times that books were written, they were written on palm leaves, and in India, in fact, they were not even written on palm leaves. People had an oral tradition of transmitting from generation to generation. So such books are a collection of knowledge from the very past, and when you look at them, you read them, you find that we have come a long way, but still there are so many things which were discussed in the past which have a solution to the problems of today and have a scope of solving problems even in the future. So when so much people had worked over a problem in the past, if we want to learn it, be familiar with it, when we are thinking about problems of present, how they present themselves today, and about the future, then of course you'd like to read. So that's how I developed this interest in reading books, and reading especially history books. Being a mechanical engineer from IIT, I really could see that once I know the history of a place, I can understand the place better. I can associate with people in a better sense, with a sense of more close association, and then I can also, when I look at the present, I get aware better about how things would have originated and shaped themselves from the very past. And then one can plan better for the present and the future. So that is how it happens. And it's, in fact, learning is never ending. So all the time, as the journey of life goes on, you will find something which is interesting and something which is new to learn. So that is how, I would not say it travels faster than bullets, but certainly it inspires my mind, it ignites my mind all the time. And I really have built a small library even in my house. And wherever I go, there's so much material packed in my laptop that I'm never free. I always have the time to do something and read. And that really helps me to maintain a sense of positivity amidst so many negative things happening around me. And policing in particular is a job in which everyone who comes to meet you, more or less, comes with a problem. So you are faced all the time with people's grievances, with problems, and you're supposed to solve them. That needs a positive mind. Many of the people would gradually become negative when they're exposed to such negativity. But if you want to be positive, then being scholarly, reading books, opening a different dimension of your mind really helps. The same could hold true in various other jobs as well. So if one is scholarly and really wants to know something and learn something, one will definitely be able to contribute better to whatever one is doing. Thank you.
How did a mechanical engineer from IIT Kanpur end up as a DIG of Bhagalpur? What made you pursue the tough and demanding career of a top cop from the role of maybe a more comfortable life of an engineer?
So this is a long story actually, which has its roots in my days of early childhood. When I was a small child, I hailed from Begusai district in Bihar. My father was posted initially in Guwahati refinery. He used to work with Indian Oil Corporation, from where he retired in 2013. All over his job, we kept on shifting. So I was in Barauni initially, where I happened to visit Nalanda University, the ruins. When I visited Nalanda, the young boy's mind was ignited. I could see that Bihar had a very illustrious past. People from foreign lands used to come to learn in this very land. And when I used to look at the present, even as a small child, there were several perplexities because people were trying to find shortcuts to pass exams. They were looking for places, looking for things which could help them to adopt some shortcut to get a particular degree. As a small child, I developed my interest in history. So this is I would say the story is, so becoming the DIG of Bhagalpur, now the DIG ATS, from not just from a mechanical engineer, I would say the story started right in my days of early childhood. I developed a keen interest in history, and I remember I was in standard 7 when my father took me to visit the remains at Nalanda. So that was actually my father. He used to work with the Indian Oil Corporation Limited, and he retired in 2013, being posted in various refineries. Then we were posted in Barauni, and from there we had gone to Nalanda. So at Nalanda, when I visited the remains, it was so vast, and I was told that people had come from foreign countries in the past, and it was such a center of learning that the library kept on burning for months. As a small child, I would look at the place, I would read about it more, and I would think about things as they would have been in the past. When I read more, there was a serial called Chanakya on air on Doordarshan in those days that again inspired me to see how a particular individual from Bihar could shape the whole country into one empire, the Indian Empire, and how things happened in the past when the technology and communication was so bad. When I looked at the present, things did not appear to be very positive. I could see that students were looking to adopt shortcuts to even pass exams. People were looking for places and people and ways and means to get degrees which would be of no worth because they did not have the knowledge. Anyway, when I was thinking on all these issues, my father got transferred to Bhopal and I was exposed to a new school. At that place, when my friends initially they met me, so they started calling me as a Bihari. Initially I did not realize, but very soon I did realize that this is not being used in a very positive way. And that really led to a lot of thinking, inner thinking, that what is going on. A place which had such an illustrious past. So I said, okay, let's work hard and do well in academics. I'll try to change that image of a Bihari in the minds of my friends. So that actually happened and I became one of the toppers of my class, and I felt that they could see that particular wisdom of a Bihari was no less superior. That was some days in early childhood. Very soon I started preparing for IIT. I had a fantastic examination, and after the examination I was very hopeful of getting a very good rank. But the very next morning my mother woke me up with a very disturbing news. The papers had been leaked, and these papers had been leaked in Patna, again in Bihar. Again it was a shock. A place which had a tradition of ancient learning. It was a land of knowledge, a land which gave the Upanishads. In this land you had such conditions. When I went to IIT, I had so many other experiences, but among them, my father then again got posted to Barauni Refinery Township, and in the summer vacations I was supposed to come back to Bihar in Barauni. And my father used to tell me, do not come to your house, and the reason, if you know, was very peculiar. People used to get kidnapped for marriages, and I was a very eligible sort of bachelor, even though I was just 17 or 18 at that point of time. So I really felt that, okay, I may get a very good job, I'll do well as a software engineer or as an engineer in some other country, earning very well, having a very good life. But whenever I still would be associated with the land, and there would be an opportunity in the future when I would again have to come back to the same land. And then I'll again think, what did I do for my land? That is what motivated me to try and appear for the civil services, because I could see that at a very young age there was an opportunity for leadership, there was an opportunity for creating actual change in the scheme of things, and law and order at that point of time was not very good. So I felt that I should work hard and try to become, not just blame the system as most people did, but I should try to become a part of the system and contribute my bit. That is how the whole transformation happened. It was inspired by the past. I used to see Bihar as a land of knowledge, as a land of great military might, which found the Mughal Empire, which had such immense superiority in military terms in those times. And I used to see it as a land of entrepreneurship, in which merchants used to travel far and wide. You had places like Southeast Asia still named after cities in Bihar, and the whole of Vietnam was actually one time called Champa from the 2nd century AD to 17th century AD. So that is one example in which you find how the entrepreneurial zeal from Bihar led merchants to inspire people in the other countries so much that they even named their country after a city in Bihar. So that was something. Heritage transformed me from a child to an IPS officer.
Mr. Vaibhav, what made you pen the extensively read blog Silent Pages, which I feel is a very meticulously and detailed research of the lesser known stories from Indian history?
I told you history inspired me. history transformed me from a normal child to a police officer with a commitment to do something. When I could see that history had such inspiration, which could change my journey, my way of thinking, I felt that the same could be in the case of many more people as well. And when I used to look at sites, when I used to move around as a police officer, I used to come across sites which were very neglected, but which definitely did have a very illustrious past. So I felt that even if I write in small bits and start documenting about these sites, maybe I can rekindle a sort of interest in the young generation about such sites which are totally neglected. No one is looking for them. Even the person living next door is not aware about that very heritage. But when you write about something, the journey goes on. You have to read a lot. You actually have to travel to that place, take photographs, and whatever you write should be authentic. So that is how, whenever I visited a spot, I felt I should write upon it. It used to take months for research. I used to acquire a lot of books in that process. I have the whole series of the Archaeological Survey of India. I have the whole series of so many ancient texts. So that is how I delve into them, try to gather a new perspective, a perspective which is seldom seen, and then I share them with my blog. Of course, I do plan to release them in a series of books as well, but that is for the future. For now, why waste the time about thinking what one can start contributing? So that is how I started blogging. And I really got very good response when I used to get calls or mails from people who hailed from a place but had no knowledge about that place. And that sustained it further, and wherever I have been, whenever I found the opportunity, I tried to visit the site and to gather more information in my free time and then gradually document it. So whenever I could find some time, I did it. So that is how the whole thing has come up. I started in 2013 and now it's 2020 already. Time enough to write a book. Thank you.